Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, today's video is an unscripted and unchained first look at Wretched Bastards. Wretched Bastards is an RPG produced by The Red Room. The Red Room, you might be familiar with the work of Miguel and Sylvia on their YouTube channel, The Red Room, by the same name. And they do primarily interviews of various persons. Myself, a few months ago included, I was honored to be on their show, and they tend to interview creators or commentators such as myself that certainly fall within the OSR, and we have, I think, a very common approach or view or taste in RPGs where we lean more towards a darker, grittier, or in this case with Wretched Bastards, as described, a sleazy, edgy form of RPG genre, and so this falls in line with a lot of what Postmortem Studios does with Grim Jim, and Miguel has actually published quite a bit under the Postmortem banner. So this is their first delve into publishing themselves and putting it out there on Drive-Thru RPG. So they shared with me a couple of PDFs, and just wanted to go through them along with you. And I certainly encourage you to take a look at them and to, hopefully you'll decide to pick them up, because their work is really, really outstanding. Their writing, their formatting, and the artwork is really very, very good as well. So, but we'll take a deeper dive together as we go through some of those. So, without further ado, let's get to the first one. So this is the PDF. Obviously, soft covers aren't available yet, at least, or hopefully they will be soon. And I will certainly make that purchase myself, or I'll take these and port them over to Lulu and try to print them out myself. So Sylvia Clemente and Miguel Ribeiro are the writers. And we go to the layout is done by Miguel. Interior art is by David and Melissa Guile. Jonathan Torres for LibreArt Online and Adobe Stock. So, and the Red Room, like I said, this is their first publication under their own banner. Let's see. You can find us at and their YouTube channel. You're not going to be able to pick it up from here, but Facebook, MeWe, and their website. Let me zoom out a little bit. So it is a total of 58 pages, although I do have another copy that is 2 pages longer, and I'm really not quite sure what those extra 2 pages were. Excuse me. So the Wretched system, character creation, skills, experience, combat, equipment and services, magic, and bestiary. So very, very rules light, you can already see. And obviously this is going to be an OSR, so you'll be very familiar with the game mechanics of it. So we have the introduction, sleazy dark fantasy. So this is what caught me. I was like, okay, let's see how I've seen grim dark, and I've seen gonzo fantasy from Venture Satanis, and all kinds of different. There's authentic fantasy or authentic medieval fantasy that you see with the RPG Pundit. So let's see what sleazy dark fantasy is, according to them. I've killed women and children. I've killed just about everything that walks or crawls at one time or another, and I'm here to kill you. William Money from Unforgiven. So I love that. I love that line, and that's one of the things that they do. Actually, they give you recommended filmography to take a look at, and I like that difference because you're used to seeing, what books to take a look at. So here they have a more drive to push you towards taking a look at various films that kind of tie into this. So just a slightly different take on role-playing games. Wretched Bastards is a low magic, dark fantasy role-playing game. Besides being deadly and bleak, it is meant to be sleazy. The main characters aren't heroes at all. They are greedy, violent, lecherous, cruel, untrustworthy scoundrels. They will lie, backstab, betray, double-cross, kill, pillage, and rape through this grim fantasy world. They aren't heroes because there are no heroes in the kingdom of Reget. Only a handful in the Carabas continent, and not a whole lot more in the world of Antilia. However, they aren't the villains either. The malefactors here are the filthy orcs who keep coming down from the mountains located south from the village of Fork, trespassing into human territory. The introductory scenario to this game setting, The Seven Bastards, was partially inspired by the many rip-offs of Conan the Barbarian. Movies like Lucio Fulci's Conquest the Barbarians, directed by Ruggero Deodato, Deodato, what a hard name to say, and Ator series of Joe D'Amato and Alfonso Brescia. Most of these movies were European low-budget productions. And you're going to see these creators are from Portugal, and so they're going to have a very European viewpoint that kind of comes through their creative works here, and so it has that flavor to it, and I'm really excited to dig further. I'm not going to keep on stumbling over all these names and such, but you can see where they're drawing their inspiration from. So meet the bastards. The Seven Bastards scenario, the titular bastards, are the main anti-heroes. Players are encouraged to choose a character from the cast list. For simplicity's sake, replacing any of the Seven Bastards is possible, but it will require adjustment to the background story. The Seven Pregens are veterans, however, that doesn't mean the Seven Bastards is going to be a walk in the park. All right, so it'll be a challenge even with playing the Pregens. So, filmography. Hercules Unchained, Goliath and the Barbarians, The Giant Marathon, The White Warrior, Morgan the Pirate, The Thief of Baghdad, The Trojan Horse, Duel of the Titans, The Slave, Sandokan the Great, and we go on and on. So they're going from very 1959 through, and we get into the 1980s here, and you'll see the Beastmaster, the Invincible Barbarian, Gonan, the King of the Barbarians, Sorceress, The Sword and the Sorcerer, Hercules 1983, Deathstalker, Sword of the Barbarian, Thor the Conqueror, Ator the Blade Master, and so on. I mean, there's a lot of films they're talking about. The Kull the Conqueror in 1997. Was it that? I thought that was much earlier than that. But anyway, so the system. Let's take a look at the system. Civilization is like a thin layer of ice upon a deep ocean of chaos and darkness. Werner Herzog. So we have playing the scoundrels. So who wants to play an unfortunate and despicable scoundrel? Well, I do. When I watched Star Wars for the first time, I thought Han Solo was the main character. In Battlestar Galactica, I preferred Starbuck to Apollo. I like Westerns a lot, but favor the spaghetti ones. Among the American movies of the genre, Unforgiven, and so on. So they get more into the filmography. So Miguel likes playing kind of the darker anti-hero type. Playing the Innocents is Sylvia's. So the Scoundrels always have been by default character trope, but I did play my share of virtuous paladins when random character creation made it so. Can you play a heroic character in this world of the Wretched? Sure. It's your game now. You can do what you want. All right. So once again, that very OSR take on role-playing. Once you have the game in your hands, it becomes your game. You can do whatever you want with it. There are no hindrances at your table unless you bring them, along with you. So, just have at it with the way you want to play the game. And there is no wrong way to play a game, provided everybody at the table agrees to it. So the game mechanics, let's get right into it. We're going to deal with, let's see what he says here. There's basically talking about experience points here and such. They'll go into the character creation. You'll start to see. The game mechanics is very, very easy. So you have the 7 transgressions. You have wrath and greed. You have sloth and pride, lust, envy, gluttony. A note on alignment. As already mentioned, the Wretched Bastards characters are expected to be, wretched bastards. We feel that having alignments doesn't really fit the setting, and so you're not going to have an alignment system per se. The abilities are your very basic ability scores that you're probably very familiar with. So you have strength, intelligence, dexterity, constitution, wisdom, charisma, and so on. You have, so they had up here your ability score adjustments, and you probably start with a 13 to 15 as a +1, 16 to 17 +2, 18 as a +3, and you have your minuses below, so average being a 9 through 12. Very OSR standard. You have language skill table. So this is based on your intelligence score. So if your average character can write fluent in native language, they gain 1 additional language at a 13 to 15. They gain 2 at a 16 to 17, and they gain and they maintain 2 at 18 as well. Intelligence gives some extra skill points. That's pretty cool. Let's take a look at the classes or hit points. Hit points are based on class here. So humans have a D6 if they're an assassin, a D8 for fighter, a D4 for conjurer, D4 for commoner, D6 for performer, D6 for rogue, D6 for savant. Dwarves are a D8, gnomes are a D6. Elf and half-elves are D6, and half-orcs are D8s. We have retainer tables based on charisma here. We have, in step 4, you choosing a race. It tells you what the racial requirements are to play those races. Humans are more adaptable to different circumstances and environments than other races, so they get 3 extra skills at +1. They also dominate They're also the dominant race in Wretched Bastards game setting, which is an advantage versus the other species. And they go into the various skill abilities or trait abilities of each of the races. So elves have infravision. Magic users do not risk insanity when using spells. Innate skills, they get a +2 to perception related rolls. Requirement, the intelligence of 9 is required. Racial penalties, -2 to all social roles when dealing with humans. And let's see, let's take a look at the half orc just for comparison's sake. So half orcs, infravision up to 50 meters. Let's see if that's a little bit better than the elves, were only 20 meters. Yeah, so actually much better. They have a +2 bonus against surprise attacks. They have a +1 to damage rolls. Innate skills, a +1 bonus to perception related rolls. So they're really pretty perceptive. Strength required is a 9. They get a -3 to all social rolls when dealing with humans, -1 to attack rolls when fighting in daylight. Magic usage should be determined at a character creation from which side they inherited the trait. Roll a d6. 1 to 5, they risk insanity, like their human ancestors, and at 6, they use magic as their orc brethren. Pretty cool stuff. Character classes. Assassins, a dexterity prime requisite, and we have the skill or the level. They gain disguise abilities here based on various levels. A commoner, a fighter. So commoners don't seem to have skill levels, which makes sense. Yeah, no level progression. Fighters and conjurers. Here's our spell use. Performers. I'm assuming this is pretty much like your bard. Rogues. A savant. Investigators, teachers, researchers, they do not look like they have spell progress or level progress. Oh no, they do. Right next to it. Like I said, this is a first look. So defense. So you have defense based on armor type. A shield will give you a +1 to your defense. A helmet gives you a +1. Terrain movement. Saving throws. Money and equipment. Aging. In these kind of dark and grim RPGs, I tend to see that, aging as far as dying of old age is usually not something that happens. But it does affect some of your attributes at times. So here, let's see. So human maximum age is 100. Less than 50, you have a -2 to all physical rolls. All right, so as you get greater than age 50, so greater than age 50, you start losing -2, or start being affected by a -2 to all physical rolls, -1 to all mental rolls, cumulative penalty for every decade above 50, elf, and so on. So those seem to be the modifiers. Is that you will have attribute modifiers or skill modifiers based on age beyond a certain age. Goes into using skills. Let's see how skills are determined. So there's a difficulty setting established. So every character, even commoners, has at least 2 skill points besides their basic skills. Each skill buys skill or new level for already learned skill. Intelligence score and the character's class modify the number of starting skills. Skills can be upgraded to level 5. Difficulty classes, very simple is a no roll, simple is a 10, average is a 15, difficult is a 20, and very difficult is a 25. You have untrained skills. You have opposed rolls. When completing a task implies a confrontation, an opposed roll is made for both characters. All right. And here we have the skills list. Looks like a good selection of skills. Quite enough there. Experience points. Let's see. Hit die versus level. Level 0, 5 experience points. Level 1 is 15. Let's see what this relates to. Nothing new. The herbal. I'm reading thou shalt kill. Nothing new. The murder hobo trope exists for a reason. The experience awarded for killing enemies, as usually, depends on the hit dice of level. So that's what this is. This is the number of hit dice or experience points you gained for killing creatures of various hit die types or levels. All right, that's simple. Wanted level. So there apparently is a reputation system. By rewarding bad things, players may forget about the plot and concentrate on just playing their characters as wretched creatures. Is that bad, though? I don't think so. But if you want to have some kind of control over it, using law enforcement pressure might do the trick. Try attaching to each character level an increasing wanted degree. All right, so as the players go up in level, they will start to develop these automatic reputations. So let's see, let's take a look at level 4. The party is very likely despised in town, and their infamous exploits have reached neighboring places. In the Seven Bastards Fork is part of the Andril region, and the closest cities are Kadok and Sidonia. Let's see, once the characters get to 10, let's see. Not just only known, the characters are feared or distrusted in the whole continent. They are probably wanted dead or alive in several kingdoms. Yeah, so as they're going up in level, they're going to become more and more hunted. So combat looks like it's very standard. Dexterity gives you a modifier for initiative. There's surprise, there's reactions. Use the D20 system for attacks. There's bonuses or modifiers for various conditions, whether there's, lightness conditions. There's probably cover and, and other things as well, or if you're tired. So it looks like various conditions here. Target is large, target is small, very small target, attacker is exhausted. There's morale table for NPCs. Healing damage, successful use of the healing skill restores D4 hit points, while passing a medicine check restores D6 HP. Healing characters DC, a few hit points lost is simple. Half of the total hit points lost is average. I like that. That's pretty cool. So the more damaged the character is, the more difficult it is to heal them. That makes a lot of sense. So that's something interesting. Disease, poison, and hazards. I am just glancing through to see if anything really jumps out at me. Like that difficulty rating based on the damage is something I haven't seen before. So that's an interesting mechanic that I kind of like. That's actually pretty cool. Food, drinks, and lodging. Magic. Low magic. Let's see what they say about low magic. I have kept the game low fantasy and low magic on purpose. As a player and dungeon mistress, I dislike magic rules. While writing the setting, I naturally crafted a world where magic is rare and magic users are not to be trusted. Magic exists, but those that dare to use it pay a heavy price. The sanity rules were added as a mechanic to represent that price. Elves have no penalty for using magic to accommodate someone that really wants to play a conjurer. But remember, magic should be kept low. Powerful magic users, wizards, have a role in the setting. They are the main villains. Excuse me. Using spells. Memorizing. Let's see. Memorizing spells takes a couple of hours. Studying is essential to use them. The mind recognizes the dangerous patterns contained within the spells and doesn't retain the content for long. Even elves, who somehow avoid the lunacy curse, can't memorize a spell for more than a day or two. This means that spells do not vanish from memory as soon as they are cast. They are forgotten within 24 hours or less. In the case of humans, a 30 to 48 hours for elves. In-game, the game master should decide when the character no longer remembers previously studied spells. By memorizing new spells, even if the ones studied the day before are still remembered, the previous ones are replaced. Again, another interesting mechanic that I haven't seen before. Yeah, because you normally assume in like Dungeons and Dragons, you memorize the spell and you're going to memorize that spell until you actually use it. And, if you use no spells for that day or 2 days or 3 days, the magic user character is still walking around remembering what he or she had memorized days or potentially even longer beforehand. And so this here is basically saying, no, you're going to have to spend some time on a regular basis memorizing those spells. They're going to fade from your memory. So pretty cool. Another interesting mechanic. A character finds refuge in the illusion. Perhaps he or she convinced of something. I'm reading delusion here. Supernatural creature. The character gets a permanent -1 penalty to all social rules. So this is failed magic saving roll effect. Alarm, fright, terror, panic, dread, insanity. Mental derangement, catatonia, compulsion, delusion, flashbacks, hallucinations, nightmares, and paranoia. This must be by failing a wisdom saving throw while using magic, then having the bad luck of rolling a 6, the player must add a derangement to the character. Perhaps you feel insanity rules aren't for fantasy games. Well, just ignore this. Everything is optional. All right, so this is all optional rules. But I kind of like that anyway. And these appear to be permanent too, so that's pretty cool. I won't get into all the spells. Monsters and cryptids, a basilisk, a cockatrice. You can have most of your very common RPG, common creatures and other foes. Riding horses and wolves, and here's the character sheet. So very, very simple, clean. Everything you need to know about a character is on this one sheet. Experience points, money. I'm just looking to see skills. I guess you may end up with not enough space to write everything down. You probably just be able to write the skill and then eventually learn everything, all of its background. You're not going to put every detail of a skill here. You're just going to list the skills that you have. You're just going to list the special abilities that you have, the equipment that you're currently wearing, and potentially carrying is what you'll put there. So character sheets can be very, very simple. So that's really cool. All right, I'm going to switch views here because I'm going to switch on I'm going to switch on here and take a look at, just very quickly take a look at one of the modules. So here we go. And this layout is a little bit unique as well. I took a very quick glance at this. And what I wanted to show you here, because I don't want to spoil anything, is that what they do here is they give you the cast of characters. All right, so these are the pregens that you could choose to use. And so here we have Eric the Warrior, age 45. He's a fighter mercenary, level 7, 37 hit points. He wears leather armor plus dexterity bonus, so he has a total of a defense of 17, pretty high. Dexterity of 18, that explains it. And so you can see he's a pretty powerful character here. A constitution of an 18, that's incredible. Plot hooks. So there's various plot hooks with each of the characters, which is pretty cool. So that's kind of like their backstory and what you might use for them. Belatusa the dwarf. And the plot hooks for that character. It is a male dwarf. Tusa got his famous tattoos accidentally. He was drinking in the company of a few human sailors, and they dared him to do it. Strangely, that night, the wine seems to have dulled his senses. He remembers being dragged to the warehouse by the docks, and a freakish, dark-skinned woman who was part of his ship's crew started to work on his skin. Everything became a blur. Tusa's tattoos seemed to be strange patterns with no apparent meaning. And then here is some dwarven runes. Pretty cool stuff. They could turn into treasure map, gate to another dimension. So he doesn't really know what the runes are. You could do anything you want with those things. There's a bard. John Quiddle, the bard. Performer. The lady in white. You remember Sleazy Fantasy? Well, there you have an image that kind of stands out, and drives that home. The priestess. Level 7. So all of these pregens are level 7. Or at least it appears to be. There's a barbarian. I believe this is a female. I saw she quickly. Yes, it is a female barbarian. High strength, dexterity, constitution. Fairly high stats. A comeliness of 16, so they use comeliness. I throw back to Unearthed Arcana. Or Oriental Adventures. Is this the Ranger? Interesting. I can't wait to... This looks like a flesh sculpture that she makes. Very weird. So the Ranger is actually a rogue. Can't wait to this and get a good look at it. Supporting cast. Aspiring heroes. Timmy the Cripple. Of course you have a wheelchair with a blood splatter on it. So Timmy the Cripple is a commoner. Level 1, 5 hit points. A defense of 8. That's pretty low. Strength of 8. Dexterity of 5. Makes sense if you're in a wheelchair. Constitution of 9. Intelligence of 15. Wisdom of 12. Charisma of 12. Comeliness of 10. Skills, animal training, lockpicking, melee, riding, sleight of hand, tracking. Let's see, he's young. He's only 15 springs old. He was left crippled by an accident. Here they have a gender swap. There's a plot hook for Sir Orlando of Sidonia. It's not a big surprise when Sir Orlando of Sidonia dies during his first quest. Meanwhile, his twin sister Ophelia decides to take her brother's place. It was either that or marriage to a disgusting old merchant. Okay, so that's what they mean by the gender swap. So the sister takes his place. Maybe hides and poses as her brother. Very cool. So interesting plots. Some of those are pretty interesting plots. I don't want to spoil too much here. So here is the map, village of Fork. And so pretty cool. I guess they give a full description of the village, place to see, various NPCs. Is that a unicorn? No, just a horse. Rummaging through the bazaar, see what you can find. A lot of NPCs. Pretty in-depth look at the town. Some of the surrounding areas. These look like little plot hooks. Yes, they are plot hooks. The opposition. Ooh, I don't want to Like I said, I don't want to spoil very much. Let's just take a look at some of the stuff. So the orcs. So there's an adventure, obviously, in here as well. So both a supplement as far as giving you background of the characters, and then a breakdown of the village of Fork, and a lot of details there. And then your villains that you'll be facing, carousing activities, so some other things that are taking place either before or after the action, some more NPCs and potential plot hooks. Just a lot. I mean, there's a lot in here. This is jam-packed, 73 pages of content. So very cool. The Seven Bastards is an introductory mini setting for the Wretched OSR anti-hero dark fantasy game. In this scenario, a party of rowdy and lecherous adventurers is called back to a village where they were expelled from years ago to help the locals fight an orc invasion. So very cool stuff. And then there's another one, Daughters of Darkness, which basically follows the same thing. It's 36 pages and very similar format with various NPCs introduced and then plot hooks surrounding them and such. I don't know if you're actually seeing this one. Yes, you are. So this is the other one. So there you have it. A really quick first look through. I will certainly spend the remainder of the weekend actually digging much deeper and reading through them completely, and then maybe I'll have Miguel and Sylvia, if they'd like, come on to the channel and talk a little bit about this project and the process that they went through in piecing it together, and then just publishing it out there, and the process that they went through in order to do that, and what some of their upcoming projects are going to be as well, and if they are going to release these in physical copies. So looking forward to that. I mean, that certainly looks like a physical copy there. So hopefully, it's probably got Lulu, and I'll be able to pick them up from there as well. So once again, thanks for joining. I hope you liked this video. I will leave links to their drive-through. You can always go through my drive-through link and pick these up. As a matter of fact, I was going to show you, let's see, here we go. I was going to show you that. So here we have, so you just type the Red Room. So go through the link on my, video description, and then just type in the Red Room, and here you have them. So the World of Bastards, Daughters of Darkness is just $2.50. The Wretched Bastards Rules Only is $4.50. The Pregen characters is Pay What You Wish. The map is Pay What You Wish. And the World of Bastards, the Seven Bastards, is $4.50. So as you can see, basically, I think combined up like $11.50, you can get everything that's here, including the rules and 2 adventure modules. Not bad. And like I said, the map and the pre-gen characters are Pay What You Wish. So I will of course link those to the description of this as well. including their YouTube channel. So I really highly recommend their YouTube channel as well. And you could also follow the Red Room on Twitter. I know that they're on there, fairly often. They're putting up their videos there, and they're talking about the hobby in general. So, they're really great people. They have an interesting and very engaging way that they go out there and engage with discussions of the hobby and such. So highly recommend it. So once again, thanks for joining. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen sometime soon. You'll have a great afternoon.